Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for showing up for the first true installment of Kanar with Damar. And hopefully you have your drinks ready because I don't know about you, but I am still recovering from the wonderfulness that was yesterday. And with that, we do have the typical crew here for this show. We have Thoughts by Jay,
Hello.
Geo Streber,
Hello, everybody.
and BM Furball.
Good morning. Why did you make me wake up at 5 a.m.?
Hey, you agreed to it.
Yeah, I know.
It was one of those, you offered, we set the time for what made the most sense since we are quite literally spanning the globe with the cast of characters for this one. So we had to come up with a time that made sense for everyone, and yeah. So what if it's fucking 5 in the morning for you?
I'll just
It's a-
sleep this afternoon.
It's a Sunday anyway. It's
Exactly.
not like there's something urgent you have planned, I hope.
Well, to be fair, if he gets a call, then he kind of has to screw out of here. But I know the feeling because I have a job that can do the same thing to me at times.
So I just need to fake a call so that I can go back to sleep. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, except we also have to kind of hear the phone ring to know it's at least potentially legit.
Ring. Hey, my phone's ringing.
All right. So for those who are unaware, yes, this is our nerdy time, as you could tell by the layout. Predominantly Star Trek, but we may delve into other realms of sci-fi as well. Because why the hell not? Let's just enjoy the creative juices that comes from it. And so, by the way, Furball, did you get to finish that video that I linked you that you were
Yes, I did.
reluctant to watch?
Yes, I did, and I'm glad I finished it.
Yeah, so for those who are wondering, in the description I have linked a video that asks the question, was Deep Space Nine really as bad of a series as some people make it out to be? Now, we do have to agree that everyone has their preference when it comes to particular TV series for Star Trek, as there were noticeable differences between each and every one. But I think it's safe to say we all agree that Voyager sucked.
It was interesting.
Well,
Could have been better.
It was definitely the funniest one at times. And it had its good parts.
The ending?
Not necessarily the ending, but generally the performance of Robert Picardo, for example.
True, and that's was part of the issue that I saw with Voyager, is you really had inconsistent character growth, because Picardo playing the Doctor, he actually did have a long-term character arc. When they brought in Jerry Ryan to play Seven of Nine, they actually had her have actual character progression throughout the entirety of her stint on it. But then you have someone like Harry Kim.
Yeah. The character that had so much potential for character growth but never developed.
Yeah. But where it really started, so with the video link below, there was an analysis of gauging the reaction to Deep Space Nine, both while it was airing and also now here we are, what, close to 15 years after it went off air. And I have to say, it is one of the series that has actually aged quite well. In fact, I would say that going back on it to rewatch the series a few years ago, I actually enjoyed it more going back to watch it as opposed to when I was watching it as it aired during its actual run.
I actually didn't see it when it was airing for the first time, because that was in 1999 and I was 5.
God damn, I keep forgetting how young you are.
God, I feel old now.
Yeah, I was in the Army in 99.
Oh dear.
Oh, so Furball, well, when I first posed this, you were reluctant to watch that video because you thought it would just be trashing the series. So what was it about it that endeared you to Deep Space Nine over the others when you first watched it and actually got to follow it?
It was unique in its setting. That obviously the biggest difference is we're no longer on a ship, we're on a station, and it introduced some of the detriment, I would say, for in the beginning was it introduced two somewhat brand new species that we hadn't really dealt with before, the Cardassians and the Bajorans. But it had to be the long form story arc that I loved, that really, really was missing from any other series up to that point. They would have a few episodes here and there that would jump back and forth, but no long, drawn-out stories that really made you care about where this was going.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that, where it was that first venture into a grander storytelling type of bit, which they didn't really embrace or get right until the last few seasons of it around the Dominion War. And when you have an event like that, you kind of have to have it be that overreaching story arc while having the smaller stories to kind of carry it along. And I know Gio would agree with me in this. There were some of the best Star Trek episodes from a human view and looking at the actual characters were during that run.
Yes. For example, one example I'm always talking about is Nor the Battle to the Strong. Do you remember that one?
Yep. Don't remember all the details off the top of my head, but I do remember you mentioning that. To be honest, I expected you to go with the In the Pale Moonlight.
Yeah, obviously that one as well. So Not the Battle to the Strong was when Jake Sisko got caught on... Basically, he got caught at the front lines of the Dominion War.
Oh, yeah, when they evacuated DS9 and he stayed behind.
No.
Or-
Not DS9. They were on a planet, which was overrun by the enemy. And he had to stay down below to wait for evacuation.
He and Bashir at the medical one. Okay.
Exactly. And they kind of ended up, or he kind of ended up as an emergency nurse and actually witnessed a soldier pretty much die on the battlefield. And later he had to write about it as pretty much one of his first stories as a journalist. The only thing that was a little bit disappointing about this entire thing was that the relationship that had formed between Bashir and Jake is a kind of older, bigger brother type of connection that pretty much went to nothing afterwards.
Yeah, and you do tend to see that throughout Trek, not just in DS9, where they will start to hit on a detail or a potential mini arc and then go away from it. Like, if you remember in TNG, there were a few times where they hinted at the beginnings of a potential relationship between Worf and Troy. Only for it to last for, what, 4, 5 episodes?
Yeah, and obviously the multiverse episode.
Yeah. Well, and I was counting that as one of them.
Yeah, okay, if you count it, it was 4 or 5. Are you sure it wasn't a little more, like 6 or 7?
And there might be a couple with a little doses of it that I'm not recalling right now, but it, even then, it ended up being a short little thing that really they started to explore, but then kind of fell by the wayside. And I do have a thought about why that's the case. And if you remember, around the time that they were going with that, they were um, the writing staff had solidified for TNG, and you had started to notice more actual character development of Troy. And part of that is, if you've seen any of the interviews they've done over the years since, Marina Sirtis actually mentioned that she was getting kind of annoyed with a basic stagnation of her character around seasons 3 and 4. And in talking with the other cast members, she realized that a lot of the development that was happening for their characters was because they were quite literally going into the writing room and talking with the staff and having that direct input on their character to make sure that it's how they felt the character should be going based on how they had been portraying it. And without that direct interaction and control over the characters, you can see how the writers are not gonna have that profound of an impact on it. And it really shows, for a series to run as long as they did, as successful as they did, not just DS9 but TNG, you have that entire cohesion between the cast, the body of directors, the writing staff, and the production crew, all working together instead of letting things fall by the wayside.
I'd be interested to know if Bashir had the same issue, because you mentioned that those are the two story arcs that you see that little bits of it like fell by the wayside that could have been developed more. To me, Bashir and Troy are the two hollowest characters from those two series. The two that I least identified with and wanted to see more story arc. I wonder if he had the same thing, that he didn't have input into what his character was to become.
Well, there have been also comparisons between TNG and DS9 about the difference in the air on set. Michael Dorn had talked about how, for the majority of the run on TNG, it was very much a family type of feel, where they spent a little too much time having to reshoot scenes because they couldn't stop fucking laughing and joking with each other. But then when he first got to DS9, he said it was very businesslike, like very clear cut, and it didn't have that same sort of feel. And if you notice, it was after that, after he came over long term, that it seemed like a lot more of that nuanced details and character building started to really take off. Like, you end up I have to say, for what was classified as a side character, it was around that time and after that you started to learn more about Garrick and the development that you had there with him, which honestly, if they were to do a series about a non-human, non-Federation background character, I'd be interested in that one.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
Garrick would definitely be one of the top 2 candidates, top 3.
Well, just when you think about it, it really is, how much could we learn, not just about him, but also the Cardassian Union? Depending on when you said it, you could either go before his exile, or even his role in the recovery after the end of the Dominion War.
Yeah, that would be an interesting thing. Because all his former adversaries mainly Ducat and later Damar, even though they worked together at the end. And the entire Obsidian Order were gone at the end of DS9. So even though we pretty much don't know it officially, we can pretty much assume that he went back to rebuild Cardassia.
Yeah. When you have 800 plus million dead, there's a good chance that they're gone.
Yeah.
Well, Ducat is dead. Damar was dead. The Obsidian Order was defeated by the Dominion way earlier. So yeah, there's a lot of empty space in post-war Cardassian politics.
Yeah, and that's where... And it really does show, and I do have to give Star Trek Online credit for this one, where recognizing that power vacuum and the storylines that they've built in and how Garrick had gone back to help build Cardassia back up from what it should have been. And it was it I'm trying to remember. Yeah, no, it was Garrick who said to Damar that the Cardassia that they grew up with was dead and gone. And there was the undertext there was there's no point in trying to resurrect what has already been killed by the Dominion. You have to actually develop a plan and move forward to grow, to regain what they had lost culturally.
I think you got it backwards. The sentence you mentioned was actually said by Damar after shooting one of his conspirators.
What? Was it that? Yep. Yeah, Damar had ended up recognizing it from the work with Odo, Kira, and Garrick in the resistance cells. Which, I do have to say, the change that they did for that episode where they gave Kira the field promotion and put her in a Starfleet uniform, the character pulled it off. And I give credit to Nana Visitor for playing it off where she, as the character, she didn't look entirely comfortable in it, but she was able to still do what needed to be done. Yeah, you saw the nerd fight coming.
Yeah, I did.
See, that's the thing. You will find here, we don't mind if we're wrong, we embrace the correction.
So I think we should go back to the main topic.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to DS9, I think we can all agree that the first 2.5 seasons were below average, to say it mildly.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, because as a series that was still finding itself, you have a new dynamic for the type of setup, you have expectations from people because you still had other Trek going on, so it had a certain expectation that some people didn't know how to temper.
Well, it's always this early franchise weirdness that we pretty much see in every first or second season of every new series, because the character haven't established themselves as what they're gonna become. Right, just take a look at the first 2 seasons of TNG. You can definitely see some parallels there.
And I was gonna say you could see the same thing in Voyager too. In their first couple seasons, they're trying to find their footing in the DS, being parallel with DS9. You know, much the way that DS9 was with Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah, and that was something that was actually interesting. The way that they cross-pollinated in the first episode of both DS9 and Voyager with the other show that was running, which I have to say was actually quite well done, and it is almost expected at that point when you have that universe going on and you're starting out in similar regions, same time, and shows running concurrently. But it wasn't done in such a way that it was like, oh, this is going to be a full integration thing. No, it was just like a little touch here, little touch there.
Just a little kiss of "you have my blessing to go on and be yourself" type of thing.
Well,
Yeah.
TNG had that as well because they had Dr. McCoy in it for a second.
Yeah, at the end of Encounter at Farpoint.
I think
But that
it
was
was
halfway through.
Yeah, it wasn't the end of Encounter at Farpoint
Part one. Yeah.
Yep.
After Data was introduced.
Which, that is another topic for another time, but comparison of Data to Spock and crew comparisons across the series and how there are quite a few parallels.
So who's the Spock for DS9?
Jadzia.
Or is it Odo?
It's Jadzia.
It would have been Jadzia because when you look at the Vulcan long life and accumulation of knowledge and experiences, you're also getting that with the Trill, with the symbiote.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you have more of that humanity type of embracing emotion and the occasional bits of irrationality that come with it with Jadzia over you would a Vulcan. You started to get that with Data, though, too, where he was trying to explore humanity and grow beyond his programming.
Which I might add is something that, in my opinion, he fulfilled when he blew himself up on the scimitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although what he was able to do compared to any organic character, saving his, essentially backing up his database in B4, which, yeah, gotta love
Oh,
that
you mean
naming.
You mean like Spock did when he copy pasted himself into McCoy?
Yeah, except without the insanity causing ramifications after.
True. Well, how do we know?
Well, and that's the thing is, you have to go into the novelizations after that actually go into how B4 finally was able to integrate the Matrix and regain the knowledge and everything, and actually ended up becoming the captain of the Enterprise.
Yes, that's true. If I remember correctly, Data's consciousness pretty much resurrected itself after they gave B4 the emotion chip.
And it's amazing how one little thing can end up opening that door. And you could give the writers credit, the writer of the novelization credit for this is that the key to our humanity and really what makes us us, our integrations with the emotional bonds that we're able to create. Yeah, and Jim Bojo in the chat is referenced the way Cisco used to always call Jadzia old man. And that was, sticking on DS9, you definitely have to appreciate the expansive nature that they had with species that were not human and the way they were able to handle everything. As when you look at the main characters on there, you have Odo. You also have Quark and Rom, who ended up giving us a beautiful look into the Ferengi culture.
I actually have to disagree a little bit there. I think Nog was actually more important for the development of the Ferengi than Rom was.
Okay, I can give you that one.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you still have those glimpses of Rom, not just going against Ferengi societal norms with the union that he tried to start, and also not just engaging with Lita as a more plaything, but actually marrying her and having that relationship. Which, yes, you see Quark make comments about how attractive certain other females from other species are, but he's very much at his core a traditional Ferengi when it comes to that side of things.
Not always. Remember Grilka, for example.
But, yeah, and I was just about to say that, and it takes an exceptional thing for him to break away from those norms. Like, it was dire, maybe not always dire, but extreme circumstances which broke him away from sticking with that traditional mindset that was instilled within him growing up. Not just everything with Grilka, which actually I think gave us probably the better type of choice for partnership for Worf in Jadzia, as opposed to him trying to stick with his Klingon societal norms and trying to go down that route. Through Quark, we end up seeing how he was willing to put himself in uncomfortable positions for what he saw as the betterment of Ferenginar and the Ferengi Alliance. How much did he end up helping the Grand Nagus before he retired and gave it to Rom? And a silence filled the...
Actually, I have to slightly disagree when it comes to Worf and Jadzia, because actually one of the first conversations the two had was actually in Klingonese, and for all intents and purposes, Worf saw her as a Klingon. So I wouldn't say that Grilka would be the obvious choice here.
Well, no, Grilka and Worf's pursuit of Grilka and trying to kind of subvert Quark opened him up to realizing, wait a minute, it's not really her that I want to go after, but Jadzia, who is an outsider of the Klingon culture, but still has the same affinity and respect for it, while still holding the same type of core values, which is pretty much how Worf was. Even though he was full-blooded Klingon, he was very much an outsider looking in due to circumstances and decisions that he's made, on top of him being adopted by Federation members following the massacre that killed his parents.
By the way, it looks like we're getting some buffering.
The hell is going on with you, OBS? Nothing else is running in the house. Yeah, I have strong internet connection. What the hang on, let's go ahead and... All right, so I'm guessing. Oh, you motherfuckers.
What?
So I have the standby screen on. My OBS upload rate goes back into the green. I switch over to the normal layout and open up the audio again, and it drops down to 2,000 instead of the 5,000 we were getting before.
Sounds like what I was having an issue with the other day with mine.
Yeah, but your wife was playing Xbox at the time. There is literally no one else in the
I know.
in the house.
Well, like I said, for some reason, when my wife's playing Xbox and I use the restream code, I still get the rate. It's weird.
Yeah, but anyways, at least right now we're not getting much more drop on the frames. So where were we?
Interspecies mating rituals.
That's one thing that I did love about DS9 is the deep integration of multicultural species in every episode. As much as Star Trek had always been about discovery and meeting new species, it's like the other species were sprinkled in all the other series. But Deep Space Nine and then continuing on into Voyager, it wasn't just a sprinkling of other species, it was deeply embedded in everything about the series. It became less and less about the humans.
Yeah, and that is something that you can definitely look at when you compare TOS and TNG to Deep Space Nine. Is you do have that increased diversity amongst not just the crew, but the overall character potential there, and part of that is a byproduct of them setting it at a station instead of being on a ship.
Especially a captured station, around disputed territory.
Which, that is one thing that there was a criticism of the writing of the series that I do kind of have to agree with. When you look at the backstory of O'Brien, yeah, he did have quite the history of dealing with Cardassian tech. But how much would he really have still retained between the end of his stint in the Border War and taking the posting at DS9? I mean, it kind of makes you wonder, why from an in-universe aspect would the posting go to him versus someone with a more dedicated, consistent overall engineering background?
Yeah, I would try to think of the comparisons, but moving from ship to station like that with the expertise that O'Brien had, it is an odd choice, other than obvious character reasons, to bring over a familiar face. But yeah, somebody who is that much of an expert in the largest ship in the fleet, why would you put them on a station?
Not necessarily a station. That's not the problem. The problem is that, as they repeatedly stated, that the technology inside DS9 was completely incompatible to Federation tech. So they needed someone, as Jared mentioned, that would actually know his way around Cardassian technology.
And they tried to justify it as his experience during the Border Wars. He knows Cardassian tech enough, which is what got him that posting. But there was such a time difference between his involvement in the Border Wars as a junior tactical officer to his posting at DS9. how much of that base knowledge of Cardassian tech would have still been applicable?
I just need to address something in the side chat. Apparently, Fred Knotts has finally found a positive aspect of Discovery.
Yeah, Tilly does lend something to it, but I don't know. There's just something about her character and her personality itself that, eh?
There's something endearing and annoying at the same time.
Yes.
The red hair doesn't help, though. That just makes it endearing. If she would have been a brunette, then it would just be annoying.
Wait a minute. Is that the same reason why? You know what? No, we're not going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, don't. Let's not talk about STDs.
I did hear an interesting comparison yesterday as I was going back through the catalog on DS9 that the Ferengi by the writing staff was viewed as the most 20th century human of all the races in the Star Trek universe. That the Ferengi is the best representation of what we are today.
I can kind of see it with
Yeah.
with how capitalist they are, but at the
No.
same time,
They at least have the consciousness or the conscience not to irradiate their own planet.
I was going towards that, but
Yeah, they're highly capitalist, highly self-centered, a little bit backstabby, but
little bit?
a little.
well, yeah, the same amount that we are today, but still with the characters we have that conscience to do the right thing most of the time. So would that make the Grand Nagus Trump?
Well, at least the main one that we got to see.
I thought Trump was this pile of tribbles in the one DS9 episode. I mean, the haircut matches, doesn't it?
The haircut is close,
Does-
but thankfully Trump doesn't proliferate in the same manner.
Are you sure?
Not that we can confirm or deny.
Well, he hasn't quite gotten as large as other presidents have in the history of being in office.
I think he's talking about propagation of his species.
Yeah, we are not 100% sure that Trump doesn't multiply via mitosis, which would be a very scary thought.
And he has about the same view of women as the Ferengi do.
But let's be thankful that Trump hasn't wanted to implement the same appearance requirements that Ferenginar has historically had.
Are you saying you wouldn't want to watch Ivanka walking around in public naked?
Oh no, it's not Ivanka I have a problem with doing that. It's
Bremelos.
it's your average dependopotamus.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
that's
imagine-
another reason to step my ass out right now.
Yeah, just imagine the House of Representatives or the Senate with all the women naked.
You know, here's the thing. If the Senate was full of females similar in visual quality to AOC, okay. However, I would want the intellect of someone more akin to Dr. Crusher.
Remember, you should not forget that if Trump was a Ferengi, there actually wouldn't be any females in the Senate.
True. If he went full Ferengi with it, they they wouldn't really be allowed out of the house.
Actually, out of
clothing.
the kitchen, probably. Because let's be honest, all they were in Deep Space Nine were living replicator operators.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bo has a question for you there, Jared.
I'm not touching that one.
Think about Trump's color and then look at Geo's avatar. Coincidence? Maybe.
Hang on a second. Let's try this.
Okay, so we can all agree that Deep Space Nine got better in season 3, and that rather quickly.
Definitely.
Definitely.
I mean, season 3 started with the search, and then literally the next episode was the House of Quark.
Yeah, and kind of shows you how incorrect bluster can get you in a lot of trouble.
Yep.
Do you guys remember where Odo got his name from?
It was Bajoran for unknown sample.
Yeah. When he was just a jar of goo?
Yeah, that...
Are you OBSing again?
Yeah, sorry.
God damn it.
Sorry, I'm actually going into the router and shutting off the Wi-Fi completely.
Maybe next time we need to use another person's connection. Maybe run this through my channel or something.
No,
Because I know that my downlink and my uplink are stable as hell.
Welcome to American infrastructure.
Well, that doesn't really. Do you have glass fiber?
Not with this ISP.
Yeah, okay, because glass fiber over here pretty much isn't a thing yet. We're all running through copper wires, either through the telephone or, as in my case, through the the television wire, actually.
Well, yeah, except the problem you have here is a lot of the infrastructure on the poles itself dates back into the 70s.
Yeah,
you're
it's the same
lucky.
over here, pretty much. Until last year, I was running on a telephone connection from 1970. Well, no. Yeah, like early 80s, I think.
Yeah, but how much preventative maintenance do you guys do on your infrastructure?
I don't know.
Is it more than none?
Yes. 20% of the USA still has dial-up. That might actually be the same still over here. Because I know some of the rural areas in the middle of nowhere, if they get DSL, it's still very slow, like 2,000 megabits or so slow. For example, my grandparents only had dial-up until 3 years ago, I think. And that was 256K in 2016.
That's an atrocity right there.
I know.
And this is another problem. This thing has 3 frickin' Wi-Fi channels. Well, it has the 2.4, the 5, and then a secure.
60?
No, it does the 2.4 gig twice as a secure and a open in a way that, but it's still password required.
Okay.
So there we go. All right, Wi-Fi's off. So the only thing going is the hard connection. Haha, fuckers. And yeah, wow, look at that. It's immediately back up in the green. But with the comparisons of DS9 to the other series, it seems like they were forced into more character based because they didn't have as much freedom with locations and your week to week bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, right or wrong, was it a fair comparison for people to pit DS9 up against an alternate sci-fi show, Babylon 5?
I'll speak blasphemy right now, but I've never watched Babylon 5
Me
or
neither.
Battlestar Galactica.
I remember watching it, but I don't remember much of Babylon 5.
The main criticism that people have for it is it's a station-based show that ends up with an overreaching story arc centered around a war, and people automatically compare the two because for a time they ran concurrently.
Right.
However, what people fail to realize, and it's generally the people who try to say that DS9 was a ripoff of Babylon 5, DS9 aired first.
Yeah.
When did Babylon 5 air first? 1995?
96, I believe.
96. DS9 started in 92, if I remember correctly. Late 1992. By the way, I wasn't even born then.
94 for Babylon 5.
Okay, yeah,
Right.
you still have a couple year, like a 2-year gap in just airing of the show between the two, where Babylon 5 came after. And yet people try to say that the one that came first was a ripoff of the former. Anyone see a time paradox there?
I mean, they had some brilliant ideas in DS9, which I think are pretty much unsurpassed at this point. For example, let's just take a brief look at Wei-Yun, okay? It's an adversary, an enemy you can kill over and over again.
And yet it keeps coming around. They just
Yeah.
changed the number on the end.
Yep.
Until
Oh,
the last
no.
one.
They killed Wei-Yun again, you bastards.
Don't worry.
By the way, do you guys think that Damar was responsible for the death of Wei-Yun 5?
Maybe not directly, but certainly had something to do with it because Damar did not get along with any of the Wei-Yuns.
True, but all the character development of Damar finally breaking loose from the Dominion was shown after the death of Wei-Yun 5.
That was probably quite literally his breaking point. Between that and the falling out that he had with Ducat, which...
Let's just say that might have been his fault.
Yeah.
I mean, shooting someone's daughter, that might kill a friendship, yeah.
Kind of has some fallout to it. All right, I'm beginning to think it's not a connection issue, but a fucking OBS issue or YouTube.
Yep, I see it's buffering again. What the fuck? Oh, by the way, are we allowed to swear on this?
Oh,
Or do you want to monetize it?
Oh, yeah, I'm not close. Well, I'm close to monetization, but not there yet, so does it really matter?
Okay, so just for the record, fuck shit, fuck cunt, fuck shit.
Oh, there goes any chance of it.
Yep.
I was in Germany once and watching German television, and in the Netherlands, they dub over, or they leave the English and put Dutch subtitles. In
Yeah,
Germany,
we
they
don't.
just dub over.
Yep.
And I was watching South Park in German, and the episode I was watching was The Night of a Thousand Shits.
Which one
And
was
just
that? I actually
listening
remember that one.
Scheiße, 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 Scheiße. I almost pissed myself.
Yeah, but I must say the dubbing is really good. Some of the voice actors are actually cited as sometimes actually being better as the original voices in English, mainly for drawn characters. A particular example would be Homer Simpson. The creators of The Simpsons actually said various times that they actually prefer the German voice over the English one.
Really?
Yes, the German one is more squeaky. Unfortunately, the voice actor who was named Norbert Gastel died 2 years ago. And he has since been replaced. The new voice just isn't as good as the old one, even though they try to make it similar. The same happened for Marge a few years ago. But yeah, that's...
So, Gio, the next time you want to do something like that, we're going to need a bit more of a warning for Chris Kelling. He has kids there who are not his own.
Okay,
I was going to say, speaking of The Simpsons, I guess Disney's getting the rights to them with their new streaming service.
Oh, god damn it.
what?
Not
Yep.
production rights, just airing rights, correct?
I don't know the full story yet. I haven't had a chance to research it.
Wait, what?
It's going to be on Disney Plus, their streaming service.
Oh my god. What? Okay,
I don't want to
yeah,
have
well.
to pay for 10 different streaming services.
Well, I pay for 2, and that's all I'm willing to do. And I'll admit it, I'm a cheap son of a bitch on paying the lower end of each of them.
I'm currently paying for neither. Well, we do have an Amazon Prime family account, but that's not mine, so technically that doesn't count. And that's pretty much only for the Grand Tour.
Yeah, I have Prime, Netflix, and Hulu, which is the reason that I wasn't caught up on STD, because I'm not willing to pay just for that.
You know, and I had access to a login for season 1. I wanted it to be watchable. But, no. What they said it was not what was given, which was a massive problem. And when you say something, it's in the Prime timeline, it's in the Prime universe, and it slots in right before the original series.
Yeah, you gotta better make sure that it really fits established lore.
Yeah, but they wanted to fuck with everything, and I'm about to blow up OBS.
Okay, so let's see. They fucked up holographic technology.
Holographic communication, ship layout, ship design, uniforms, the Klingons.
Terraforming.
Yeah, the Klingon thing. Ugh. My wife started playing Star Trek Online on the Xbox the other day, and they're having the crossovers of Discovery into the Prime timeline on there. It's horrible.
Well, Jared, is it possible that the issue is not the uploading itself, but that it might be your computer?
Oh no, I streamed with 0 issues last night.
Did you change anything?
No.
Okay.
Have you watched any porn in the meantime?
No.
Did you
Well, that's
visit
your
any
problem.
creationist websites which statistically contain more viruses than porn websites?
No, the only thing I did after my stream was join Nonsec and then movie night, and then went to bed.
There was a lot of stupid in movie night.
Yeah, there was.
I didn't see it yet, so don't spoil it.
It's really long.
Yeah.
Really
So?
long.
You guys realize that I'm used to having 6-hour live streams on my channel, right?
7.5 hours for
Oh,
a
neat.
20-something minute video.
Okay, well, that might be an issue.
There was a chunk there in the middle that we just let it go when he kept promising commercials. But there were times when we had like a full 40 seconds where nobody said anything and we just let it go.
Wait, you guys had these awkward pauses?
Well, we
Sean?
were watching a video at the time.
Okay, well, then that's excusable.
Sean's playing STO right now.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Oh, I actually got Star Trek Voyager Elite Force to run.
Oh, you did get it to work.
Yep. It's a little weird because the you can pretty much forget about driver compatibility, right? So when you try to install this on Windows 10, there's some fuckery going on, and it needs to be patched. By the way, Jared, I used this patch note that you sent to me.
Okay, so
On
it
the
did work
website.
for you.
It did work, but I needed to ask the guy who actually wrote the article to send me the custom ISO or the custom installer.
Mm.
Otherwise, you can go into the menu, you can change the settings, but as soon as you try to start a mission, it goes right back into the menu with an error report. So the problem is that the patched version isn't really good. Like everything is running fine. That's not the thing. You can change the resolution to full HD with a little bit of trickery, but there seems to be some sort of emulation layer in between them, between Windows, or actually between the graphics card and the program, which causes very low frame rates. Like I have a 2070 and RTX 2070 and an i7, and this game only ran in 30 to 45 FPS. Like that must be a driver problem or a software problem of any sort, at least in full HD.
Well, you're a game that old, aren't you going to be limited on the graphics quality to begin with anyways?
Yeah, but I would at least like to have a stable frame rate at 60, if possible, at 144 FPS. Like, I mean, the game is 19 years old. It should run fine. So whoever did the patching, yeah, there's still some work to be done there.
Oh,
But otherwise, audio works. Controls are super weird, which is why you should change them immediately to the standard first-person shooter controls.
Yeah. So apparently Fred has some insight to some of the stupid later tonight, and can I just say that I called it? So apparently that guy that joined Nathan Thompson on Fight the Flat Earth and Team Skeptic's stream, that was claiming multiple science degrees, the primary degree is actually a film degree.
Of course.
It's a science of arts.
Show me any S degree for film.
By the way, you guys are all invited to my celebration live stream as soon as I have my MSc, which should be in 4 to 5 weeks maximum.
Awesome. Well, so here's my thoughts at this point. We have been going for an hour, and rather than literally punch the computer because of OBS and or YouTube being the pains in the dick that they are being, and wanting to keep the shows on the shorter end to begin with, I'm gonna say we go ahead and start wrapping up in prepare for the next installment, which, depending on audience demand, will probably be in about 4 weeks. Or if there is such an outcry and you guys threaten to kill me, we can do it sooner. But here's the thing. They have to be credible threats. I have to believe that you actually want to hear us talk about this shit and other things, because, oh boy, did another topic come up between us in the back chat that I really hope this rumor isn't true. If the rumor is true and they try to do it that way, there is no hope for the IPO going forward, in my personal opinion.
You mean the one that I was talking about?
Yes.
Oh dear, yeah, well. I hope it won't happen this way.
Well, with that, for those who have stuck around for now, I do appreciate it. This will stay here and will be on its own playlist going forward, so anyone who wants to catch up on topics that we have touched on this string of shows will have that ability as they are created. And that for anyone interested in joining the conversation throughout the show, Nightbot has been posting the join link to the Discord server. Go there where you can interact with myself and the panel members. You can also end up interacting with other content creators such as Radical the Unhallowed Knight, the Creaky Blinder, Fight the Flat Earth, and we may end up having another name join us actively on that server. You will have to stay tuned.
People that are more important than us.
Oh yeah, much more important.
You forgot the most important content creator on there, the Wet Beaver.
Oh yeah, how can we forget the Wet Beaver? Well,
I like Wet Beaver.
so
Actually, let me rephrase that. I miss Wet Beaver.
something you want to tell us off air so the wife doesn't hear?
Hey, I'm halfway through my 6 months in Korea. I'm on the downhill now. You're through my year, so I'm 6 months into the year.
All right, well, with that, thank all of you for showing up, and we will catch you on the next one. Oh, by the way, actually, quick programming note while I'm thinking about it, for those who may not have heard or seen, we are doing part 2 of Veterans Talk Weekly in 3 hours, and it will be another shorter one because at 10 o'clock, as of right now, there will be a live stream on Red's Rhetoric's channel where we pretty much talk about and salivate over and clean up over after that wonderful footage he got the other day of the Falcon Heavy launch.
That bastard.
Wasn't it in 40K, 60 frames per second?
That bastard.
Oh, and here's the thing. So he called me earlier today. There were just over 108,000 views on the video. He called me a few hours later. It was over 122,000.
That bastard.
So we are trying to get as many views on this video and other rocket launch videos just to see how much it'll take to get it to go viral and potentially trending.
132,782 is what he's currently at.
Jeez, and fuck. Wait, hang on. Let's see how long that's been, because it's I don't think it's been 2 hours yet. So, yeah. We are under 2 hours since the last phone call from him, and that video has gone up another 10,000 views.
Yeah, it's here it's counting 130,932 views.
Yeah. So, with that, we will see you guys on the next installment. Next show on this channel will be at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you there.